What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have another repair video of one of my favorite cars that I have. It's my wife's car, actually. It's her 2003 Volkswagen Passat. It's a B5.5 facelift. It's when it started in 2003, but it's a 4Motion V6, and I love it. It's been a great car. Bought it from a friend of mine. He took really nice care of it from the point he got it to the point he gave it to me. I've tried doing the same thing. My wife drives it every day, but it's finally come time to do a tie rod. So, if you've seen any of my videos revolving around tie rods, I think there's two. The thing about it is, if you're going to replace one, replace both. And if you're going to replace both, replace all four, inners and outers. It's two of each. Two inners, two outers. The reason I say that is that typically these are time-consumed parts. You know, it's not necessarily that one gone bad isn't gonna send the other one into its failing, but the problem is if you don't go ahead and just do both of them, you're gonna eventually inevitably turn around and have to do this again on the other side, and then you're gonna need to redo the alignment and this, that, and the other, so you wind up paying for your alignment twice. Now, my recommendation, as always, if you're gonna do parts that there are two parts of, do them in pairs. They sell brake pads in pairs. There's a reason for it. It's because you don't do one pad at a time. You replace all of an axle. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into this. I'm going to get you set up. I'm going to basically just kind of walk you through what I'm doing on the car. And here we are. Check her out, everybody. Look at all this. Look at all this. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Would you just look at this? Look at this. Oh my goodness. Nah, but for real, that's just some noise-making nonsense. It's absolutely no benefit to the car. But this is it, you know. Let me set the hood down just a little bit so that we can... Alright. I don't want to click it all the way because I'm probably going to have to lift it again later, but this is it. Look at her. Such a pretty car. So... Dang. Move this barrel. Yeah. So I can't do anything about the posts because, you know, gotta have a roof when I want a roof, but this is it. This is Amanda's car. So these wheels, I believe, are off of a 2018 Passat. But there's a lot that you don't see on this car that makes it a little bit of a sleeper. Now I gotta pop the hood again. Told you I didn't want to click it down. There we go. Alright, first things first. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see down that far. Let's hit you with some light. No, makes absolutely no difference. Okay, so anyway, it's got an ECS lightweight main crank pulley. It has full solid mounts all the way across. It's got the poly snub nose mount. Everything works great. The car feels nice and tight all the time. Okay, so for just a second, while I was thinking about this here is the tie rod on the Passat. It's absolutely easy to get to. You take this catch nut here off. I think, yeah, there's a head on the back side. You take this nut off, you push that nut, that bolt through, and then you remove this nut here and it falls out, right? But how do you know it's bad? So, you grab your wheel or the sidewall of your tire like so. You want to just give it a little jiggle. So, I'm going to go here, left hand, because it's on the left side. It make it a little easier for me. But here's the thing. Zoom in just a little bit. Watch what happens. Do you see the boot moving? So that tells you that that outer tie rod is gone. Okay, so we're under the car. We've got the wheel off. Another one of those things that a lot of people don't realize this car has, the spacers, front and rear. But we also have some ST coilovers. This is actually one of the best handling Volkswagens I've ever owned. But anyway, back to the task at hand. You're gonna want to take this off. Now, this is either going to be a 16mm, or you can get away with running a 5/8. It's about the same. It's 5/8 is somewhere between 15, 16-ish range. And then this is a 13. And then once you've done that, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. The light doesn't do a whole lot. And it wants to zoom on the wrong stuff. But you see that head of the zip tie right here, all the way in that back? Someone's been in here to do this before. I'm sure it was Daniel, and good on him for putting tie rods in here at some point. Like I said, this thing's been with me and my wife for a few years now, so it's about time for stuff to start going bad. But yeah, you're gonna wanna remove this nut right here and push this bolt through. It'll come out this backside over here, and then you wanna take this out, and then you're gonna wanna just kind of beat right here, somewhere in here, and kind of just tap it gently down and out. It should be fine. When you put this back together, you're gonna wanna put some anti-seize on the inside, because it just helps. It makes a difference next time you have to pull it apart. And then we've got new bellows and everything, but I may reuse these if they're not, you know, if they don't come off in bad shape. But what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna try and find a measuring point, probably the back side of this nut, and you wanna measure this gap right here so that you can go back together and kinda sorta know a little bit more about where to put it with the new stuff. If you don't do anything but, you know, just kind of screw it together, you're gonna throw your alignment off so far that you won't be able to drive the car to the alignment shop. You'll just destroy other components or even the tires. More than likely the tires, but in extreme enough situations, you can actually destroy, you know, other components. Like these control arm bushings, they're just rubber. They can all 100% be shattered if they're old. All these can be broken up here, all those bushings back in there along the top. Everything in here has to work together as one in order for the entire car, the whole package that we look at as this car, to work properly. Okay, all right, so you see I've pulled this nut right here off. That was the 16. Now I'm getting this here 13. And now here's the thing. Pull this nut loose, make sure that this stud is nice and freed up and everything so that you know it'll come out. You don't want it to be seized and not know. You want to test and push this out and make sure that it comes out, and then put it back in just like this. Then you want to take this top one off. The way this works, this nut or bolt combo here actually catches a groove of the tie rod, and this screw or this bolt here, without this one, will just indefinitely spin the tie rod. So you got to keep this one in here to be able to brace the tie rod to take this one off, which should be pretty easy. You know, some of the stuff can break. You know, that's not ideal, but what are you gonna do? Okay. So now that you got the 13 out, set that down. You're gonna wanna just tap. You do not need to hit it hard. You'll notice this has got this rounded side, and then this catch on the back side of here is actually a raised section. I don't know if I can get to it. Yeah, a little bit. It looks terrible in the camera though, so that's what you're working with. Now that all that's loose, I like this cross peen because it kind of lets me reach in a little bit, but I can just basically tap this thing down and out. You just gotta catch your groove. Kind of a pain, you know, because you're trying not to hit the car, but you can see I've already kind of sort of started to open up a little bit of a gap there. Yeah, you see, it just kind of comes down and out. It's not like the old stuff used to be, where it traditionally has like a taper to it and it's a pressure fit in there. This one works completely different. So really, as long as you put that anti-seize on there that I mentioned earlier on the shaft here, this in here won't actually be much of a problem to come back apart. It would be even less of a fight than it is right now. But even this, just sitting here lightly tapping until it finally just whoop, just like that. Bam. All right. So you can kind of see there's no play in and out over here, but it's really floppy. So that means it's definitely old. We got to go for that zip tie back there now. And for that, I brought these. My Extendo Reacho cutters. I don't think I'm going to be able to have you in here at the same time, so I'm just gonna give you a cool angle. And then maybe I can get lucky. Nope. Nope, because I can't see. Let's try a different angle. There we go. Nope. Nope. Not gonna work. See if I can just manhandle it. Oh yeah, heck yeah, look at me, Mr. Badass. Okay, so now that this is off, you can pull it back just enough. It might come over here. Yeah, you see that nut section. All right, so cool. Here's where it gets fun. So now you've done your due diligence. The outside is loose from the knuckle. The inside is exposed. So you take, oh no, I set the key somewhere. Bam. Love that flip key. I know it's just about every manufacturer has one nowadays. Turn your ignition on. Turn all the way to the right to push this out as far as you can. And then you want to pull your key and it locks it in its place. Now we have pushed so much of that boot out that bam, look at that right there. So the back end right here has a section where you're supposed to be able to put a puller. Now I want to be able to measure these, so I'm just going to go at this with a crescent wrench since it's so far out. I'm going to cut here, go get a crescent wrench, and I'm probably going to do that off of camera to break it loose because it's hard to do with two hands. But in general, it's lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. And if you have a tie rod end tool, which I may show you at the end of this video on the other side, just for simplicity's sake, although I doubt it because I still want to measure from point to point what's what so that I can get it close. So we're just going to have to see how it goes. But that's tie rod loose from the knuckle, extended out. I'll be right back. Okay, just for a second, I did want to point out the wrench I'm using. It is this here, channel lock. 81515. It looks like that says 15 inch. So he's a big boy. Ugh. I'm gonna try to see if I can do this one-handed to maybe be able to, you know, halfway let you look at this. But basically, you just get this out of the way as you can to expose that backside, and you can see that hex section. That light turned on. And of course, there's nowhere to set my phone in a way that you'll be able to see what I'm doing really well. Yeah, so you see that hex section right by my thumbnail. That's where you're going to want to put your wrench, and you're going to want to go in from the bottom, and just remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty. So go in the proper direction. All right, so I don't know if you'll be able to see it real good. But it's loose. So basically now, you just reach your hand up in there, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Now remember, there's a proper way to do this, and then there's the way that I just did it. I'm not saying that my way of doing this is any better or worse than any other, you know, possible way of doing this. The right way to do this is to go ahead and undo the outer tie rod. Alright. Now we have it loose. Oh boy, now we stand up. Oh, tie rod in the hand. We're gonna set that there. We're gonna come over here and turn my shitty music down. No. Okay. So, basically now, you're gonna want to straighten this out. Kind of something like that. And you're gonna want to take a measurement of the overall length of this thing. You know, yes, there are point-to-point finite differences, and this is not going to get it perfect. But what you're going to want to do is go from the end to the end and get this approximate. And then you need to measure things when you put all your new parts together, so that when you put it back in the car, it ends up being relatively close, and then you can still drive to where you're going. But I'll be back in a bit. All right, so here we are with the new one. Yee! It's awesome. Okay, so let's go on out there to the car. We're gonna grab a pair of pliers because I have a feeling we're gonna need to do something. What pliers do we want? I think I actually want these. Nah, take the vice grips. The vice grips are nice. I want that grooved diamond right there so that I can grab around something without digging too bad in one particular spot. Okay, so the reassembly is exactly what you think it is. Now that we're in here, you see that? You see that? That's gotta go in there. So basically, you just, as best you can, get on in there. Okay, so as you can see, I got it started. Let this relax. And I'm just gonna keep whatever which way I can to tighten this. And then once it's good and snug, you just want to put some tighten on it and then reassemble in reverse order. I tell you, it's pretty straightforward. The hardest part's going to be to get this back part of the bellow up over the lip of the rack, and once you get to that point, you're going to notice it's actually not going to be that bad. Okay, so that felt like it bottomed out. So we're going to come back and look. Yeah, it looked like it bottomed out pretty good to me. So now you just want to flip this back upside down. You want to turn your knuckle so that it reaches out to catch stuff, and then you basically just need to work this down up into here and reassemble the bolts. So I'm going to be back to shut the video in just a few seconds, and we'll talk about a couple things when I do. Alright, well, to finish out this video, like I said, you're going to want to maneuver this back up in here. It should just pop right together. And then you're going to want to put this in, put this nut back on here to, you know, effectively lock the tie rod into the holster. And then you want to put this little 13mm back in and tighten everything down. Now, what I wanted to talk about earlier. To get this bellow back on, you're kind of just going to have to feel in there with your fingertips and feel where the bellow gets onto the lip of the rack. And then you're just going to want to twist back and forth like so while pushing in at the same time, and you'll actually hear it click into place. Then at that point, you should be able to actually go from under the hood and wrap a couple of zip ties around that, or even from down low to get up in there for it. But effectively, if you get this bellow far enough back so that it's got tension trying to push back this way towards the outside of the car, you can lock it on that right there, and there will actually be enough pressure to push backward on the bellow to hold it on the inside. So backing up, that is how to do a tie rod on a Volkswagen B5-5.5 Passat. If you liked what you saw, and I know you didn't, because it's super terrible shitty camera work as always, it's just got to be as mediocre about it as possible. But I also like doing this in quick sprints when I can, so that you can kind of see what it takes without it being too long. Hopefully this video doesn't take too long, but I'll tell you the whole process of doing both sides back and forth and all the stuff I'm doing, not including camera moving and holding and talking, it's probably about an hour long to 2.5 hour long job. It just depends on how long it's been since any of the stuff's been maintenance. This one, Daniel did pretty good to take care of the car, so nothing was rusted, nothing was terribly fucked up. It's all good to go. Came apart really easily, went back together really easily. This is what it should be like. I love working on my wife's car because everything is just good. You know, I look at Disappointment over here, old Greg over there, Jenny way over yonder. These are just older cars. They have a lot more issues. Not so much old Greg. I mean, he's only 2 years older than the Passat. But my point is, if you want to do something and you need to do it, just take it one step at a time and you can make it happen. This has been Tie Rods on a B5-5.5. Comment, like, subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you very much. Have a great one.